Here we are for another Boring Guy DIY masterpiece. So here I'm planing some cherry and mahogany. Big piece of cherry, small piece of mahogany. Love that Hercules planer. Milled that to like 5/8, I think. And then now I'm just jointing down the edges, making it nice and square. That's that new AMT joiner I picked up. Love that thing. Well, it's old, but new to me. Actually rolled my sleeves up this time, so safety first. Gotta pat the board at the end. It was a good board. So here I'm just drawing the circle, contour, edge. You get the idea. The curved part of the Swiss Army knife, mallet. And then I think I'm telling you there that I'm going to cut it in half. So I drew 2 circles on each side. That represents each half of the Swiss Army mallet. And then I'm just ripping it in half on the table saw. Those little Lowe's buckets are awesome, by the way. They're like $1.50. You got to pick up like 10 of them. In this case, they worked out awesome to be a circle guide. So now that I got the pieces ripped in half and the 2 half circles drawn on the end, I am cutting it on my bandsaw. And this time I actually have the blade on correctly, so it's actually working. In my last video I had it on backwards like an idiot. So there's one of the sides. And I think I cut the other one off camera, because you guys don't need to see me just do the same thing twice. So I cut outside of my line, and here I'm just taking my little belt sander and just getting it really circular. The thing was sliding all over the place, driving me nuts. I think my next investment is going to be one of the floor standing units. But love that thing. So now we get the 2 sides all sanded up. And I think in this part I am trying to find where I'm going to put the center screws. Where everything's going to rotate around like in a Swiss Army knife where the blade opens up. So this just took me some fiddling around. I think I found the radius of the bucket. And that's what I used to, draw the circle. So I don't think I actually found the radius. I think I just guessed. If you notice, almost everything I do is just like a guessing game. I just kind of do it as I go and hope it works. So as you can see there, that's where the dowel is going to go. And where all the mallets are going to pivot around. So here I just chucked in a inch Forstner bit, and I'm going about halfway through the material. It's going to make a nice little mortise, I think you would call it, for the dowel to sit in. And that's just an inch thick dowel. I think it was poplar. That's what I could find at my local hardware store. And as you can see, it's about halfway through. And then I'm actually going to use the little point of the Forstner bit to guide my 1/4 inch drill bit right through. You'll see in the next part of the video. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the dowel, put a 1/4 inch insert in it, and throw a bolt through the other way. It'll make more sense in a minute. And I'm just using my first side here as my template for the second one, just so I can get perfectly accurate holes without having to measure. You'll notice in most of my videos I don't measure much. I just kind of feel it out. So here I'm just chucking in my little countersink bit. Man, that thing is dull, so you're going to see it's going to take me like an hour to make a countersink here. Could just buy a new one, but you know how that works. Just making a nice countersink, and I got a 1/4 inch, 1/4 brass nut here, bolt. It's like 10 o'clock at night, guys, so I'm like off my game right now. Look at that, fits perfect. It's like I meant to do that. Of course, I dropped it on the floor. It took me like 10 minutes to find it. So here I got a piece of ripped down cherry. And look at that, I'm actually doing this correctly with a miter gauge and a little stop block thingy so it doesn't bind. So I cut out 6 of those, and these are going to be the little pivot points for the mallet heads. This will make more sense in a minute. So now I'm using the small side of the bucket, which is a little bit smaller than the curved part of the sides. And I'm just going to rough cut those out on the bandsaw again. My fingers are way too close here, guys. You know, in the moment you don't realize it, but when I watch these videos, it just makes me cringe. Safety first. Not really sure how you would cut those otherwise. Maybe use like a pair of tongs. I don't know. Leave it in the comments. Let me know how I should cut that next time. But anyways, you can see here it's basically a flat side with a circle, and that's where it's going to pivot. I think I kind of modeled it there. So what I'm doing now is I'm just going to drill a hole centered right through that. And that's where that pivot point is going to be. And I'm going to use again an inch wide, inch diameter Forstner bit. And I'm going to hog right through. And you can see I got a piece of birch on the back there just to back up the cut so it doesn't blow out. Now I had grand plans for this where I was going to have many more mallets. As you can see, there was going to be 3 per side. But then I realized that I didn't pre-plan anything, and 3 mallets were not going to fit. Well, like I said, with most of my projects, I just kind of wing it, and you'll see here how I kind of fix the problem. Now again, I think I did it off camera actually, so what I actually ended up doing was I glued these 3 together and made one big block on each side. You'll see that in the upcoming part of the video. Not me actually doing it, but the result. So as you can see there, I got the inch thick dowel pin, and that's going to sit in that recess on the side. And then the theory at this time was those were all going to move independently as kind of a little pivoting mechanism. So I basically just put that all together. And now I think, if I remember correctly, I'm going to drill straight down using the holes as a guide so I get a perfectly straight hole. If you can, always use parts of the actual thing you're making to line up the holes, because oftentimes trying to measure that would be almost impossible. Unless you're a machinist, I'm sure you could do it, but I don't like numbers. And I don't like math more than I don't like numbers. As you can tell from that comment, I'm not the sharpest drill bit in the index kit thing. So as you can see there, I'm drilling a nice straight hole in the center of the dowels. And that's going to receive a 1/4 inch threaded insert. So in this case, I just got some brass ones from my local hardware store. Probably best to do this on like a drill press with maybe like a clamp or a vise. But usually I'm doing this stuff at like 5 in the morning, and the quicker I can do it, the better. So I drilled the hole just big enough for that insert. And then I'm just going to crank it in with a screwdriver. But man, I forgot how fragile these brass inserts were. And I broke the first one off camera. Of course, I had to go all the way back to the hardware store. Didn't buy an extra. You know how that goes. But thanks for editing here. I can make it look like I did it right on the first time. Oh, look at that. Beautiful. You can see there, I just barely rounded over the edge of that dowel so it doesn't bind up in that, that mortise. Now here is before I decided to make this one solid block. Again, I was drilling holes for the brass rod. That was going to be where the mallet handles were. And you'll see how I fixed that later. Because of course, you know, I didn't want 3 holes there anymore, so I filled them up with brass rod. Kind of made it look sort of cool, so again, kind of making a mistake into a feature. And I think we'll be able to see that in the next part of the video, where I kind of ended up gluing all these together again and just filling those outer 2 holes with little pieces of brass rod. Now when I sanded them flat, it looked kind of Pretty cool. Here we are. Here's the part where you're going to see it. Man, if you guys don't have one of these little cheapy belt sanders, you got to pick one up. One of the most handy things in my shop. But you can see here, so now I glued all those pieces together, so it's one solid chunk. And I'm basically just smoothing it all out and making it look good. And you can see from that last shot, 2 little pieces of brass rod. I'm pointing to it. Look at that. So now this mallet, Swiss Army mallet, is only going to have 2 mallets on each side. Which again is perfectly fine. I mean, this thing is useless anyways. It's not like a real tool, so. And here I'm just rounding over all the edges. I think that's a 3/8 round over. I gotta build a rudder table, guys. This is such a sketchy setup. And another thing, man, I'm way too close with my fingers. Routers can be one of those things that are deceiving. They don't seem as dangerous as they really are. That thing will take the tip right off your finger. Like, look at this. This is ridiculous. I should have never done that. And as you can see, I ruined that mallet head, by the way. Now, I didn't make the mallets on camera. They're basically just pieces of 3/4 stock with like a 10-degree cut on each end. But you can see I ruined that one, so I'm going to shake my hands in anger. You can see in the background there, I basically just had a couple pieces of stock hanging around that I just ended up, again, 10-degree angle on each side, 3/8 rod, brass stock, and a hole right through the top, and I basically just super glued them in. So pretty straightforward there. I didn't think that needed too much explanation. And here I'm just throwing some 50/50 tung oil mineral spirits mix. And man, that really makes that mahogany pop. I'm a huge fan of tung oil. I just don't like that it takes like a month to dry. And right now I think I'm doing this, it's like 25 degrees in my garage. So I had to thin it, otherwise it was just like a gel. But it's always good to thin the first coat anyway, so you want to do like a 50/50 mineral spirit tung oil cut the first time, first coat, and then subsequent coats you can just throw pure tung oil on it. Then you just build up as many coats as you want. Look at that, I'm super happy. Or I'm just trying to punch someone. Man, I'm rocking those Halloween PJs. So I'll let that dry for a day or two. And now I'm putting it together. So as you can see, I'm just throwing that 1/4-inch brass bolt right into that dowel, which nicely recesses into the side of that Swiss Army knife thing. I was actually surprised at how well this came out for how quickly I actually did it. Now here I try to put some felt bushings on there, but I realized I didn't need them. Everything snapped together pretty well. The last bolt was a little bit awkward to get in there, but it all came together. I was going to use that clip. I was going to use the clip from the tape measure and put it on there, but I decided against it. Kind of beat up, but as you can see here, it swings right open. One mallet on each side. They kind of fold into each other. Like I said, it came out way better than I thought. Now we can see the final product. Wow. Wow, this music is killer. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed, guys. This was a really fun project, and I had a ton of fun with it. I think I have a little monologue or whatever the heck you call that in the next clip here, so you guys can listen to me talk. Thanks for watching. Man, that beat goes hard. Here it is, guys. The Swiss Army mallet. Genuine African mahogany. Cherry in the middle,
and some other kind of wood that I'm not really sure what it is. Came out really cool. I like to call it the Boring Guy DIY Super Mallet 3000. I think it rolls off the tongue a little bit better, and it's wicked awesome. But overall, super fun project. Sometimes, guys, you just have to make a project that's stupid and ridiculous like this, and it's just a ton of fun. It kind of breaks up the day. It really just, there's no point to it, so I think it just makes it all the better, you know? So take your scraps, make something ridiculous. It'll be a lot of fun, and you can end up with something totally non-functional, but super cool like this. So just remember, that's why we do it, to have fun. Stay tuned for some more wacky projects at Boring Guy DIY at YouTube. That was kind of lame. Boring Guy DIY. You're already watching YouTube, so you would know that it's YouTube. So Boring Guy DIY is obviously on YouTube. You get the idea. Watch me.